Welcome to the Make It Happen with Will Polston podcast.
Your first boot camp you did, I'm right in saying that first boot camp you did on the beach, you didn't just put a post on social media and people came along. You sent 5,000 leaflets out for 5 people to turn up. Is that right?
Yeah, 5,000 and 5,000 flyers. I dropped them into beauticians and hairdressers. I was going to places where I felt there was a lot of women that would be my ideal audience, and I felt the women would be speaking in these hairdressers, and I thought that was a good strategy. But for me to get 5 clients completely changed my life. And again, that's a very different guy to the guy the year before that wanted 100. I thought, wow, 5 people believe in me. This is incredible. And the backstory, even before the 5 people, which I've only, again, seen recently, because sometimes you only see the dots when you look back, how they connect. But when I was completely lost and completely just not knowing what I was doing with my life, my dad said to me, and it was a little bit blunt probably, but he said, the reason you're so depressed is because you're self-obsessed at the moment, and you're only thinking about yourself, and you're convinced that you're the only one in the world with problems. And he said, go and help people, and it's going to get you out of your own head. And so I started doing free training and nutrition plans. This was before the beach. And when I was working in the pizza shop, I would meet people on my break. I would give them a plan. I would write it out for them, just get them to buy me a coffee. And a guy contacted me 12 weeks after getting his plan. And he said, here's my before and after picture. You didn't ask for it, but I'm happy to share it with you. And that was probably what got those 5 clients as opposed to the flyers. And, it's funny, again, just putting it out there and trying to help people. We talk about the morning routine and the morning questions. My 2 evening questions, again, Tony Robbins, back to Tony a lot of the time, but Tony talks about growth and contribution and how essential they are. I ask myself 2 questions in the evening. And if anyone listening to this was to take one thing and they wanted a simple strategy, I ask myself, how did I grow today, or what did I learn? And then the second question is, who did I positively impact today? And that's a kind of simple tool for a little bit more fulfillment.
Love that. So those two evening questions. And when you ask those questions, I'm curious for you, Pat, what do you get by when you answer those questions and you journal them, I'm guessing, of an evening? What feelings does that cultivate for you?
You know, it's just that it's almost like an accountability and a sort of honesty piece for me, where there's days where I get caught up in my own bullshit, and I get busy, and I think checking my emails is the most important thing in the world. And then I reflect on that. Who did I positively impact today? And if I'm humming and hawing, I'm putting something down for the sake of it, I'm being honest with myself there. I'm like, okay, well, maybe you got caught up in the busyness and you didn't actually consciously make a positive impact on someone's life. It's easy for me to say, well, I released a podcast, so that's my piece. But I'm trying to be a bit more human in terms of, like, did I actually do something? So, like, I've just come from the post office. I posted a binder full of notes to a friend of mine who's doing a master's that I did 10 years ago, and that's one little thing. So I've made a positive impact on him today, and it's just been a little effort, and it's just to keep myself accountable, I think. And as I say, learning is one of my highest values. So being able to answer that question of how did I grow today ensures that I'm not forgetting what's important.
Yeah, and both those questions as well, I'm sure if you're asking those every day, your reticular activated system is on the lookout every day of, like, right, there's an opportunity there where I can impact someone. There's an opportunity where I can learn something. So you're priming yourself for the following day as well, right?
Yeah. And you know what? Someone asked me recently, I was doing a podcast about failure, and she asked me, how do you feel when you don't achieve something that you wanted to achieve? What does that do to your psyche? And I says, I don't beat myself up in any way. I just look at it and I say cause and effect. If I don't achieve the thing I wanted to achieve, it's because I didn't do what was required. I'm not going to beat myself up about it, because that doesn't do any help. Equally, I'm not going to blame anyone else, because there's no point in that. Blame and shame. Shame is where I beat myself up. Blame is where I blame someone else. I'll just be very practical and say, well, this was the work that was required. I didn't do that work, so I don't get the result. And it's as simple as that. And then again, back to 24-year-old Pat, I wasn't putting in the work that was required to build a business. And so the shame was a waste of time, because, it's something, again, back to weight loss, because weight loss is a great example of setting a goal and having to do the work yourself. The person that says, nothing works for me, I've tried everything and nothing works for me, I don't like seeing people see that. It's not because I'm trying to be harsh on that person. I'm trying to empower that person, because it's not fair for them to tell themselves nothing works when they haven't actually done the work. They've done it for a week and then they've jumped onto something different and then they've jumped onto something different and they never stick with one plan. And then they tell themselves, nothing works for me, I've tried everything. It completely disempowers them. It's important to be very honest. Okay, I've done this and I've gotten this. If I do something different, I'll get something different. Very simple, but again, hopefully it removes that story. Sometimes we fight for our limitations. You know, my big limitation in school, I'm not academic, I'm not clever, I'm not smart. And I told myself that 100 times a day when there was no truth to it. It was just a seed that I watered every day. So, if you're not where you want to be and you didn't get the results and you fell short on your goal, blame is a waste of time. Shame is a waste of time. Reflection is not a waste of time. Reflection is where you say, well, why did I struggle here? Took on too much. Okay, when I set goals going forward, don't take on so much. No point repeating the same cycle.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah, it can work the opposite way as well. I mean, I remember years ago, I used to say I'm never wrong, and I used to pride myself on the fact that I was never wrong. But and what happened is that also become a self-fulfilling prophecy. I was never wrong, and it become I'm never wrong. But the reason I was never wrong was because I never stepped out of my comfort zone. You know, I never pushed myself to what was possible. One of my biggest fears was public failure, you know, and cocking up publicly. And now I cock up publicly all the time, you know. I mean, my spelling is horrific. I love posting on social media. I love writing. My spelling's horrific, and there's typos and the stuff that goes out wrong. And it's one of those things. But like you say, if you're in action and you're taking action, you're much better taking action and sort of failing forward than sitting on your hands and doing nothing.
You can find the full episodes of the Make It Happen with Will Polston podcast here on YouTube, on iTunes, Spotify, and all other major podcast platforms.